In this video, we are going to use sum and difference formulas to find the exact values of trig functions involving sums or differences of special angles. So we're going to find the exact value of tangent of negative 13 pi over 12. And to do that, we're going to want a unit circle. Now, if we look at our unit circle, we see that we don't have 12 in any of the denominators, which could make it a little bit tricky to know, what should I use? If, however, we were to divide this unit circle into 12ths, then we'd have an easier time. So let's go ahead and do that. So here we see a unit circle that has been divided into 12ths. When we compare the two unit circles, we see that there exists a one-to-one correspondence with the majority of the pieces, except for pi over 12, 5 pi over 12, 7 pi over 12, 11 pi over 12, 13 pi over 12, 17 pi over 12, 19 pi over 12, and 23 pi over 12. As we look at the unit circle, we want to ask ourselves, what two numbers could I subtract to get a negative 13 pi over 12? And I can see that I could take 3 pi over 12, which is the same as pi over 4, and I could subtract 16 pi over 12, which is the same as 4 pi over 3 from that. And that would give me a negative 13 pi over 12. So let's write that down. So we now have the tangent of pi over 4 minus 4 pi over 3. So here we can see that we're going to want to use the difference formula of tangent for this equation. So our difference equation is the tangent of u minus the tangent of v, all divided by 1 plus the tangent of u times the tangent of v. And here we see that our u is going to be represented by pi over 4, and that our v is going to be represented by 4 pi over 3. So let's substitute that in. So we have the tangent of pi over 4 minus the tangent of 4 pi over 3, all divided by 1 plus the tangent of pi over 4 times the tangent of 4 pi over 3. So now we can go to our unit circle and we can find what the tangent of pi over 4 and the tangent of 4 pi over 3 are. Looking at our unit circle, we see that where pi over 4 is, for our tangent, we would end up having radical 2 over 2 divided by radical 2 over 2. And that's going to leave us with a value of 1 that we can plug into those spots. Looking at the 4 pi over 3 spot, we see that our tangent would have negative radical 3 over 2 divided by negative 1/2. And by doing a little keep, change, flip, we see that our answer is going to be a positive radical 3. And so we can go ahead and we can plug those in now. Let's move this over. And we'll plug in our 1, and we'll plug in our radical 3, which is going to give us 1 minus the square root of 3 over 1 plus the square root of 3. Now from here, we need to rationalize that denominator. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. So we're going to multiply by 1 minus the square root of 3 to both the numerator and the denominator. And then a fun little trick that we have for multiplying conjugates, so that we don't have to FOIL it all out, is if we consider our 1 is our a value and our square root of 3 is our b value, we simply need to take our a squared and subtract the b squared from it. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have 1 squared, and then we're going to go ahead and subtract the square root of 3 quantity squared from that, which is going to leave us with a 1 minus 3. So what we're going to put as our denominator is going to be a negative 2 here. So we're going to have a negative 2 in our denominator. Then up in our numerator, we're going to have to go ahead and FOIL that. So if we FOIL that, we see that we are going to have a 1 minus a radical 3, and then we are going to have a negative radical 3 times a positive radical 3 squared, which when we simplify is going to give us a 4 minus 2 radical 3. Now from here we see that we can simplify this farther because our denominator will go in to both of our coefficients. So it will reduce then to negative 2 plus radical 3, and that can't be reduced any further, and so that's going to be our answer. So the exact value of the tangent of negative 13 pi over 12 is negative 2 plus radical 3.